But it's important to pay tribute to the stories of our ancestors, whether you be a Black American, a Black immigrant, a West African immigrant, a Caribbean immigrant, any sort of Blackness that you are associated with. It is important to take the time to, you know, literally honor our ancestors and what they've gone through, and live literally, you know, pave the way for us to exist today. Because like they say, like, I truly believe in the fact that I am my ancestors' wildest dream. Hey sunshines, and welcome back to my channel. It's Monet, aka Political Bae, and today we're talking about the 1619 project. This is my first video since I've been back from, you know, vacationing and stuff like that. So this is my first Political Bae video that I'm not vlogging or doing a lifestyle video. So I thought it was only right, obviously, since we're already in February, to do something that is definitely in tune with the occasion of the month, which is Black History Month. And I don't know about y'all, but I'm blackety black every day of 365 days out of every year, out of every, you know, century, decade, and millennium. So, but also, let's check out my shirt. Yes. What is this? It says, nah, Rosa Parks. And that's just my vibe. I mean, that's who I am on a regular day basis. If you know me personally, you know that I go by the mantra that I am the political. So a lot of my political stances, a lot of my socio-ideological policies and ideologies that I believe in is definitely what governs me throughout. And I truly believe in the saying that you take you wherever you go. So let's get into the video. Today we're talking about the 1619 project. I don't know if you guys are aware, but the first slave ship landed approximately 400 years ago on United States soil, right? So August 2019 marked the 400th anniversary of that fateful occasion, as we would like to call it, as it shaped the history of not only the United States, but Black Americans and honestly the Black diaspora worldwide, right? So this project is super important for a lot of reasons, but the main reason is that it's important to recognize where you come from, the trials, the tribulations, the actual truth about that history and what occurred during that time, right? Because you won't necessarily know where you're going if you don't know where you come from. And as cliche as that sounds, I personally believe that it's something that's very, very true, right? It's very important to know your ancestry. It's very important to know, and this is like on a grand scale, but even something as minuscule as like what sort of, you know, deformities or sort of diseases run in my lineage, my heritage, right? Like, am I prone to having high blood pressure? Am I prone to certain things, right? So like, even on the health tip, it's very important to just know what you come from, where you come from, to know where you're going. And that's on a micro level. But on a macro level, it's important to know the experiences of those that have come before you, to sort of understand and make that sociological connection to where you are today, and where they were, you know, 100 years ago, 200 years ago, and how those sorts of environments and those relationships and experiences shape the way that we exist today, right? So the 1619 project is super, super important because my mentor that I love dearly, Dr. Ann Bailey, was tapped to be a part of the project, and she's the author of the book, A Weeping Time, the Largest Slave Auction in American History. I'm going to link that below, as well as a bunch of the other tidbits and the other important materials that you need to know about the project. The 1619 project is an ongoing initiative from the New York Times magazine that began in August 2019 and is sort of the 400th anniversary of American slavery. The project aims to redefine the conversation around slavery and reparations and things that we've been discussing for some time now, and sort of have a more linear conversation towards what happened and what the end result and reparations should look like down the line. right? So a lot of the things surrounding, or a lot of the talk surrounding the 1619 Project is not only about the stories of those that were enslaved, which we will get to in 2 seconds, but a lot about what it means to sort of not fix but mend the relationship that Black Americans have to the United States, given the sort of horrendous history that, you know, Black people have gone through on this land, right? If you're seeing this project on Sunday, I want to say February 16th, which is the Sunday before President's Day 2020, then you might have already come across the digital publishing of the project that Dr. BAE has done an amazing job working on, and you know, myself and 2 others have been involved in the back end research portion of the project. This part of the 16 various memes, databases, old archives, you know, various methods to get to where we were, which is basically we are trying to find the unmarked auction sites throughout the United States, similar to Brian Stevenson's project where he marked the lynching sites throughout the country, right? So currently, and I will link this below so you guys can check it out, and it's an amazing project. The project does a really good job at not only showing that, but also, and it kind of gives you this eerie feeling of what life must have been like for these folks during this terrifying time of slavery and like the slave auction, and literally having your family and loved ones ripped from you, right? So another thing that this project made me think about is sometimes we feel these intrinsic feelings of maybe like worrisome or anxiety, and especially I would say like descendants of you know, African American slavery, you might feel things when you walk into certain places, and what I've learned is trauma is sometimes passed down through your DNA, right? So you might be feeling something from, you know, someone in your past ancestry line that you're not even aware of, right? So it's like, it's super important to know these stories of these people, and you know, I would love to, and I'm actually going to post a little bit of, you know, I'm going to post an excerpt of one of the slave stories that is super important to even read, right? And one of the excerpts go exactly like this. Sarah Elizabeth Adams was around 5 when her mother was sold to a slave dealer in Lynchburg, Virginia. First of all, this place is called Lynchburg. That's the first eerie feeling that I get. The auction took place in the mid-1840s in the town of Marion, Virginia. Sally, as she was called, was herself sold that day, but not with her mother. A man named Thomas Turman purchased Sally to take care of his sick wife. She would never see her mother again. For the remainder of her childhood, whenever she could, Sally would slip away and find solace under a tall, white oak tree. Now, I can only imagine what it was like to be, you know, separated from my mom, my family at such a young age, right? I'm like a family girl as I am, right? I love my mom and my dad and my aunts and my uncles and my sisters and my brothers. I'm just so big on family. So a lot of the research that I did, a lot of the times I had to take pauses and, you know, do some form of self-care to even continue the work that I was doing, because the stories were so jarring, and I empathized with it to a point where I kind of felt like I was living that same reality. So, not that, you know, this is something that you shouldn't look at because it might be of sensitive content or something of that nature, but it's important to pay tribute to the stories of our ancestors, whether you be a Black American, a Black immigrant, a West African immigrant, a Caribbean immigrant, any sort of Blackness that you are associated with. It is important to take the time to, you know, literally honor our ancestors and what they've gone through, and live literally, you know, pave the way for us to exist today. Because like they say, like, I truly believe in the fact that I am my ancestors' wildest dreams, because when I've read some of these things and I've researched a lot of these things, it is heartbreaking, you know, the stories that are untold. So we owe it to them to not only tell those stories, but to honor those stories. say the pioneer at the New York Times that has really been an advocate for this sort of work is Nikole Hanna Jones, who is an investigative journalist, and she currently works for the Times Magazine. And there's been some criticism from historians, like this man Sean, I believe his name is, starts with a W, but I'll put it here, Sean something. You guys should go look at him, not in a positive way, but his criticism about the whole entire project, and he coins himself as an American Revolution, historian, is that this project is cynical and it doesn't, take into account like both sides of whatever, just nonsense, right? And it's really upsetting to me to even see people opposing the stories of, like literal history that has occurred, right? And this is why I think it's super important for people to know their history, because if we don't know our history, it's so easy for people to give us a version of their revisionist history. And if you don't know your history, right, like you have no choice but to believe what's on the platter given to you. And I just really want to commend Miss Nikole Hanna Jones, who's really put a lot of work and time and effort into this project, along with a lot of the other historians that are, a part of this project, for the incredibly important, step that they're taking to make this project notable, right? To bring light to this conversation and to really, really talk about something that's like has been in the works for years now. Reparations is something that Black descendants of slaves deserve, right? And it's something that can be done. And on the topic of reparations, I have many thoughts on that, and I will post a video about it at a certain point. I've written articles on it, and as a Black immigrant, I don't believe that I should be receiving the reparations of, the American descendants of slavery. Like, that's a conversation I need to have with Britain. I'm Guyanese. Like, me and America don't have that relationship, you understand? But as just a Black person, period, there should be no reason why we should not all be advocating for our reparations. And on the topic of reparations, I'm going to leave it there because I can go on, and this video will get extremely long. And I know y'all attention spans are not that long. So what I'm going to do is come up with a different video and we're going to have that conversation. Thank you guys for watching my video. I have another upload that I'm going to talk about, the year of YouTubing and how I'm getting better. You guys have seen my scenery has changed, something a little bit more convenient, so I'll get a lot of my uploads in. But thank you guys so much for rocking with me and sticking it out. It's been a year and we have about 15 videos up. I think that's really good. I don't know about y'all, but like, I feel like I did that. I could do better. It should be 52 because it should be one every week, but we will get that done this year. I'm on it. I'm doing the work that is going to take to stay consistent. So thank you guys for rocking with me.